Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. We are so excited to talk about marketing in 2026. So let's go ahead and get started with what's now. What is actually driving the growth for you guys right now? What is tangibly moving the business?
Who do you want to start with?
Marie, let's start with you.
I grab the microphone
So
first.
off, so.
I can start. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. Happy to be here. I'm Marie. Okay, what's working? For Nordstrom right now, our biggest focus is continuing to connect with our customer in meaningful ways across the whole journey. What that means for us is really recognizing that the relationship with the customer comes far before checkout, and specifically that it comes through loyalty. So we're making a lot of investments right now in continuing to enrich the experience through loyalty, think about how to make it more digitally enabled, thinking about how to productize loyalty, so creating more touch points for loyalty beyond just you get points when you purchase. So that's the biggest thing for us right now that's working.
Beautiful. And Drew?
Yeah, so for PepsiCo, we've done pretty much every campaign you could name in terms of upper funnel, lower funnel, big and bold, simple product forward price pack. I think what for us, the story, the narrative has been is fewer, bigger, better. So it's focusing and right sizing what we're doing. We try to be too many places to too many people, too many consumers, too many cultural moments. So I think for our brands, it's really just thinking about being more purposeful, more mindful of what we're doing, and having a singular focus, not only in the portfolio, looking at how beverage or food or snack, there's fiber, there's protein, there's prebiotics coming out. There's a lot of shiny things to glom onto. So how do we be more mindful as a portfolio, but also as a brand to know where's my lane and kind of stick there? And so that singular focus, I think we've seen is each of those brands are finding their home. And by finding their home, they're able to grow.
Yeah, I love that. Protein is everywhere. So,
yes.
Yeah.
We have Doritos protein chips. I mean, I don't know what world
Do you
we're
really?
living in, but
Where do you buy them?
now everywhere. They're at your favorite store. No, here, I'm selling here. But yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy world.
And Katka?
Hi, everyone. Before I maybe answer, can I get a show of hands on who is familiar with Rituals Cosmetics? That's a fair amount. Thanks to everyone who's brand aware here. For those who are not, we're a Dutch brand, and we're in premium wellness and beauty. And we operate 1,600 stores, all of which are in Europe, Middle East, and Asia. So none in the US, which is why probably most of you haven't heard of the brand. But I wanted to just explain that, we are a very retail heavy and centric brand, which is closely tied to what I'm going to explain works for us. And that is experiences. We see our fleet of stores as a real asset. And that's where we focus all of our marketing efforts to try to get people to the store, because we see whenever they spend their time there, on average, anywhere from 3 minutes to, as long as half an hour when they come for an event, we get their undivided attention. And that is something that we don't get through any other medium. So trying to provide our customers with experiences, in-store events, activations, that's really something where we see tangible return, both on the short term as well as long term.
Yeah, fantastic. Being able to touch your customers in person is so important today. Yeah. And actually, great segue into my next question. Where are you at with AI? Where do you see AI genuinely helping your teams today? And where do you feel it is still more hype than help?
Are we going this way now? Yeah. Okay, so AI, of course, it's the buzzword. We're on the second panel. I'm sure you're going to hear it a gazillion more times before the end of the day. What we do with AI is very heavily centric on the creative side of the business. So we really use AI to help us concept, to get, every possible idea out there and see it on a screen, because we see that just works so much better, especially for management throughout the process to really fast track everything. So in the creative suite, we definitely see the AI giving us efficiency and speed. Where I feel like, was it also a question where it's not working?
Yeah, where is it not working?
So I think on the flip side of things, efficiency can also be something that is just, everyone expects that AI is going to make you more efficient. But is that really the case? Like, I'm just going to say, Who here has received a AI-generated recap of a meeting? There you go. That's
All
what
of
I
us,
want,
I'm
right?
sure. Yeah.
Who of you thought that recap was too long? Yeah, there you go. So I feel like we expect AI to just click and it's going to generate me this amazing recap of a meeting, where it just ends up being this A4 that is much longer and difficult to derive real action points than if someone just attentively sits in the meeting and recaps it in a short email. So I feel like that's a good example where AI has the potential to make us more efficient, but we also shouldn't compromise on the quality of the output. And I feel like that's where we are trying to run before we can walk.
So that's great on the creative side. Couldn't agree more. And then speaking more to the media side, for me, I was always hopeful that AI and any predictive intelligence would allow me to do my job easier, faster, better, quicker. And I'm quickly realizing, like, this aha moment of, like, a lot of these signals that I'm getting from my media, my targeting, my audiences, deployment, optimizations are not rooted in deterministic data. I'm getting signals from desperate sources, not singular sources. They're trying to make sense of all that for me when I go to deploy my media. So I always want to think about how to predict where I need to show up and predict consumer behavior. But AI, I don't think is ready for that solution. So I think what I'm just being more mindful of is, how do I use more deterministic signals in flight and use AI there? So help me guide me down the path when I'm actually activating media, as opposed to setting my strategy ahead of time. The good news for PepsiCo, we have a lot of high household penetration brands. So it's not like I know if you're eating Lay's, you're basically the United States. So, like, I don't have to, like, worry about, like, who's going to potentially buy. But I have to find incrementality, and incrementality is the, like, golden goose for all of my brands. How do I find that shopper that might switch or buys Pringles that would get back in the portfolio? And that's where I think AI could be a solution to help me predict, but I just need to make sure that it's being informed and fed the right signals. And that's where my data lake's got to be clean and it's got to be simple. If I have too many sources I'm pulling in, it's too cloudy of a picture for me. So it's kind of like the DSP world, like it's a race to consolidation. I think on the AI space, it's a race to consolidation there. Whoever can, like, win that single source of truth, well, I don't know who it's going to be, but I think we all have the front runners right now. But we'll see where it goes.
I think as marketers, we've known about AI and are aware when we're living in a world of AI far before, as I think about the Nordstrom customer, our customers are aware that AI is a part of their shopping journey. And so I think it's really important to remember, how do you create that that transparency of preference where you're creating an opportunity for customers to select in to where they want to see more relevant recommendations. As we think about what Nordstrom's trying to do, it's really about, honestly, what we call de-averaging our customers. So we have highly engaged customers who are shopping 15 plus times a year. We have lightly engaged customers who are shopping 4 or fewer times a year. Those of you that are Nordstrom shoppers may go, I sit in one of those pools. We need to think about how do we get that highly engaged shopper to spend more, and how do we get the lightly engaged shopper to take another trip? And so AI can be really helpful in helping us predict what the next best action is for that customer. And I think for our customer, we just need to make sure that that feels really transparent and natural for them. And I think the most important thing is landing that with precision. And I will tell you guys, I don't think we've nailed it. Nobody's nailing it in AI. You've got to figure out how you orchestrate the data and get the data in a place where you can have signal on what's actually resonating. One of the things we talk about a lot, if you've got the Nordstrom app, you can see we have, like, outfit of the day recommendations. We have, because you bought this or because this is in your closet, we recommend these other items. It's not perfect, right? Like, I opened up my app last night and was looking at it and I was like, that's a miss, that's a miss, that's a miss. And I'm being transparent here because we are transparently in a process. I love what you said, Drew, about data. Like, structured data is really the foundation of that. And the way that we program the signal to be able to predict the next best action based on what somebody that looks like you is buying is the most important thing. So I think the headline is, as marketers, we have to be really responsible with that. We also have to be a bit patient with ourselves because it's not perfect. And on the journey, it probably isn't ever going to be perfect. It just gets better over time. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I would say, outside of, obviously, we're leveraging it to do creative at scale, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But that's going to continue to be a challenge, I think, as I think ahead. Our biggest opportunity outside of this, make it more relevant, make it feel real for customers, is how do you actually get at content at scale in ways that still feel brand right? And we've got an opportunity, I think, to figure that out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Marie. That's actually a fantastic segue into, our next question about what's next. And as automation is increasing across media and content production, does creativity then become more or less important?
Yeah, I can pick this one up. I've actually got my team on site next week for an on-site. We're talking about this. People leaders, how do we create openness to be more generative as teams? Our expectation with our marketing team is that they're generative. We're not necessarily relying entirely on agencies to just bring us ideas. My expectation is hands-on keys teams are creatively generating ideas. And so we like to say great ideas can come from anywhere, and we've created a team structure and an operating model that really enables that. So that's the first thing I would say is creative can't just sit, and brand leaders, creative leaders will hate that I'm saying this, but like creative ideas can come from anywhere, and and candidly they should. And AI can be helpful in that. And I think what we've found is, at least what I've found, is AI is really helpful when you have a blank page. It can help at the starting point, and it can help you finalize it. But the messy middle, to your point, I love that you said A4, like it's Kaizen language. The messy middle, it still requires a lot of human intervention. It's not good yet. It can be a generative tool for you, but you can't rely on it entirely. And so I think we're at this tension, which I know we'll talk about a little bit later, as marketers, saying like, well, what does the future of work look like? What does the future of our team look like? And I think the reality is, if you're using these tools day in and day out, the creative isn't great yet. People have 11, 12 fingers. We see that often. So we're kind of not touching it on that side. As we think about iterating in media, Drew, to your point, obviously, as we think about creative variations, it's very helpful for us in that process. But outside of that, we're dipping toes, and there's still quite a bit of human intervention to make sure things feel brand right and candidly accurate.
It's going to be hard to follow that. But yeah, on the media side, I work closely with the creative teams, obviously, to make sure that we're purposeful in what we're doing, that we have a creative strategy and a comm strategy that we can land, we feel confident in, because it's my job to deploy that. But if I'm handed some creative that's either outdated or it's versioned too highly, it used to be the other problem, which it was one piece of creative, then I had to skin it across 7 different platforms and somehow make it look appealing to the customer. Now I think for me, it's finding something that's simpler, a singular idea, and making sure that creative can then actually land and resonate with the consumer. And that makes my job easier, because then it becomes a lot more of a human interaction with the consumer, as opposed to feeling like I've just got a versioned out creative. And I think we got to be careful about chasing this whole personalization journey of, well, it's got to speak to you and like whatever. I don't know how many times I've been, fed a Spanish speaking like language ad, and I don't speak Spanish. Or it's like, hey mom, you're shopping. I literally just yesterday got served women's shoes. I was like, those look pretty good, but I don't know if I'm
not quite.
I don't know if they have my size. So we just got to be careful there. And so that's why I like those singular creative ideas, and it's based in a human truth. And so while creative can come from anywhere, I like to land on the experts in our area. And then again, we can build on that idea. You can use AI to build on that idea. But I think the best creatives come from a human truth, and they're singular and they're purposeful. And the last little piece that we could get into is the algorithm piece that I'm worried about also is we're chasing algorithms on platforms. TikTok, the more you feed the beast, the more you're top of the page. That's a slippery slope, in my opinion, because then, I'm the top of the page and you've seen me, but maybe I'm just making you angry. Like if you ever look at comments, I'm sure you've seen them stop feeding me this ad. And so that's the thing we got to be careful of chasing this AI and iteration and it becoming disruptive to the consumer. And so my point again, singular, human truth, creative.
Yeah, I can only build on that because I completely agree with what these guys said already. I feel like the role of creative teams is maybe evolving, changing, but it's ever more important. I feel like with AI, there can definitely be creativity for sure, but at what point are all of our teams using the same tool, giving it the same prompt, generating the same output? I feel like if you put, side by side a lot of the creative, like product-centric creative and beauty, it starts to look the same. If you remove the logo, the color palettes, the show of texture, it's pretty much the same. Same goes for, movie advertising. I feel like every other horror show poster looks the same. So I feel like if we don't get that human element in to try to push the envelope, to evolve the prompt, to try something else, AI creatively is a very fast way to just simply being mediocre. And I think there's not an AI tool out there yet that is going to push back to the extent of saying, hey, I think this is nice, but it looks the same as all of your competitors. Yeah. So I think we really need that creative side of the business to, for lack of a better term, really think outside of the box and use the AI to be a sparring partner, not just, do the same thing that everyone else does. The other thing I feel like for creative teams, they also really need to step up on their cultural sensitivity and awareness and knowing what they don't know. We operate a global business. My focus is on markets in the Middle East and Asia. And it's like if we come up with a creative concept and I want to know if this is going to resonate in the Middle East, if it's, giving the right amount of, for example, in the Middle East, they're very sensitive about showing the shoulders, showing the knees, showing the elbows, but also just not falling into a cultural stereotype. So just because I'm shooting a campaign for the Middle East doesn't mean that, the woman needs to be fully covered. It's a very sensitive space. And getting a proper feel for how that creative will resonate, no one's going to give me a better input than the local team. So I feel like those two areas is something where I don't even know if we should try to get AI there. I think this is exactly where the human, element of being sensible, aware, and really trying to push the envelope is going to remain very relevant.
Absolutely. So it sounds like the double click here from everyone is that creativity is very much still a human-owned task. Yeah, amazing. So shifting slightly, as consumers begin to rely more on AI systems for shopping, the product page becomes both a point of discovery for humans as well as data for machines to process. So how should brands and retailers rethink the product page for both human visibility and AI visibility?
I can take this one to start. I think the reality is we're doing what we've always needed to do, which is keep content fresh for discoverability. Don't overcomplicate it. It used to be that we were writing for SEO and we were writing for discovery when people did a Google search. And if you kept your pages fresh and you kept your images rotating and you did all the things in the SEO playbook, 15 years ago, this is what we needed to do. We're just redoing that now through the lens, I love how you put it, through the lens of both human and machine discovery. And so I think that's like keep the main thing, that is keep content fresh. That's always been important. It continues to be important. As you're asking about product pages, PDPs, I will say well over half of our site traffic lands on a PDP, a very, very high volume, because obviously we're trying to sell. And so optimizing that page is really important to us. To just hit the nail on the head with the question, it's very important. We're in a unique place where we're activating, and some of you that have both, that are in businesses that have maybe a storefront and also a digital business will resonate with this, but we're able to use our store teams, our salespeople, to create content when new product comes in. So if you've ever shopped Nordstrom.com or you've been in the app, you can see that product that you're shopping for. A lot of it, I don't exactly know how much coverage, but a lot of it is covered by a fresh salesperson video. We're shooting these in stores all the time. Anytime new product comes in, you'll see a nice rack with a couple of items hanging on it, and the salesperson is telling you, here's how it sits on the shoulder, here's how it might wear. If you're taller, this is where it's going to hit you below the knee, which we find really helpful. We find it helpful for obviously human discovery, but increasingly we're going to understand how machines read that content too. Now, obviously, there's foundations that have to exist behind that to make sure that we're discoverable when the agents come and scan the site. And we're working through that right now. But I think the headline is it's always been important. It continues to be important for us. And we're also thinking about the sort of third-party external signals that we need to be investing in, where we, you look at the power that social has, the power that third-party media partners might have in being able to tell that story on your behalf. Those are also really important resources for us to keep that content fresh. So that's where I'm spending kind of a lot of time thinking about what's the next generation of content for us.
Yeah, you stole my answer. But yes.
Sorry, Drew.
So let's bring it up with the funnel maybe a little bit. So PDPs are huge for when you're shopping for a premium product. I sell chips and soda. You know what's in it. It's getting better, by the way. We have better ingredients, so everyone, don't worry. So besides that, right, we're removing the artificials, and that's important. But for me, it's connecting those pieces of contextual alignment with my media, and then looking at the PDP pages, looking at my site traffic, looking at my conversion data in store, online. I need to be more mindful of how I'm feeding that beast. So for me, to take the PDP and kind of put it on steroids, it would essentially need to have more of that information that's relevant to that consumer that realized they needed to land on that page to begin with. So that means, okay, I'm a mom and I have, a couple kids, it's a multi-pack. So if it's, I'm worried about my breakfast, I'm eating too much sausage lately and I need to be healthier, so oatmeal. So how am I feeding those PDP pages with the right people that are coming to that page? Because if I'm feeding them wrong, they're going to have those high bounce rates. Then the people that are in ownership of those pages are going to go, well, wait a minute, maybe we should be doing something different with our content, or we should be driving discoverability with our add to cart feature because, yeah, you have Pringles, but how about buy, Lay's? So if I'm feeding that engine, that beast, the wrong people, I think we're dead upon arrival. So just wanted to add a little bit of color there because you, again, stole my answer. It's not about
Yours
the
was
PD
better.
page. No. It's seriously, it's like that used to be the case, right? All the keywords had to be in there in your little bullet points or whatever. Like, we sell chips, okay? We're not curing cancer. That's what I always we say in the halls. It's like, it's not complicated, but it's all about finding that person that I know. And I think what this allows me to kind of elaborate really quickly on is the growth of retail media. So that's been huge for us. So we don't own point of purchase. So for me, yeah, PDPs are great, but I know why you're on Walmart.com, right? So for me, it's about how do I use that data to then feed those consumers to that page and then see that basket data. Am I driving trips? Am I driving frequency? Am I driving new buyer analysis, like our new buyers and analyzing those metrics for me? And so that's kind of like enhancing the whole story, because you can tell someone a bounce rate on a PDP or like how savvy it is, but you need that complete picture, and your CMOs and your CEOs should be looking at that complete picture and not just the PD pages, because it's part of a bigger solution.
Well, thanks, guys. Now I have nothing left to say. When it comes to the PDP, I'm just gonna elaborate maybe a little bit on the fact that I feel like a lot of brands, ours included, we're deploying tactics. So, for example, filling the PDP page with FAQs and making sure that we're answering the questions that someone going to a GPT might have. I feel like what there's less chatter about, and there's also a lot of obstacles to clear this, is getting, if we talk about discoverability as the end goal, that we need to talk about much more than the PDPs, right? I feel like brand clarity, PDP is just one element of that. Say in our case, for example, we really stand for clean beauty. A lot of our ingredients or products are 90% natural origin, so that's one of the things we really want to be known for. So if someone goes to ChatGPT or whatever other engine out there and searches for what are clean beauty, I want them to find rituals. Even if I stuff every single PDP with a clean beauty or natural origin ingredients keyword, it still isn't going to get me up there if the rest of my content across the entire ecosystem, from social to everything else that's out there, isn't going to speak to that and talk about that angle through more than just natural ingredients. I feel like there's a lot of, when it comes to GPTs, a lot of the criteria that they look at is, do you as a brand have authority in that space? Are you a clean beauty brand just because you put your natural origin ingredients on your PDP, or because you genuinely have certifications, awards? Like, is this a red thread through every piece of your content? So I feel like if anything, GPTs are becoming better at calling BS, to be honest, on brands. And I think PDP level, of course, that's a must-have. But the brands need to your point, at this very highest levels of the organization, be willing to choose what we as a brand want to stand for, and then be very critical on how that reflects across every single touch point.
Yeah, that's a great point. It does need to be a very holistic approach. Drew, did you have something you wanted to add on that?
No, I don't think. I think we drained that one pretty thoroughly. I think that one is wrap.
That was thorough. No, you guys are fantastic. So, so at Pre, we've seen a ton of interest in our retail PDP agents, which optimize product pages, accounting for both AI discoverability and competitive positioning. So, building off of the last question, how important truly is PDP optimization for brands? And specifically in the case of Nordstrom, Marie, I know you spoke to keeping things fresh and generating in-store content, but can you speak to a little bit more how you actually do the optimization for your PDPs?
Yeah, I mean, it's covering content, visual content, written content, and anything basically we're optimizing for any search intent that's going to come through, whether it's from a person or a machine. So where we're at right now on our journey is we're making progress. It's a really big initiative for this year, which I'm sure many of you are in your strategy and planning for the beginning of the year, or maybe if you're ahead, you did it in Q4. We're in it right now, and this is really one of the top conversations we're having is how do we get in front of the shifting way that people are searching. One of the interesting things we looked at over holiday is how much traffic was coming from agentic search. It's funny, I was talking to my team about this, and I have a 9-year-old son at home, and his nanny, his babysitter, we were talking over holiday about gift giving, and I was like, gosh, I'm feeling so drained. I've got these like wish lists for people, and I've got to just go this weekend and like transact on everything. And she goes, oh, I'm just shopping through chat. And it was like she's half my age. And it was like such an awakening for me that this isn't happening tomorrow. It's happened. Like there's patterns and behaviors already being established that require us as retailers, as marketers, to just simply move faster here. So I guess the short answer would be we need tools to do it right. We've got some tools. This year, we're going to figure out the other tools that we need. And it's already here.
Yep. It's upon us. Absolutely. And Drew?
Again, so the PDP is not like my direct wheelhouse, but what I would say is on the optimization piece, thinking about my portfolio of products, again, most of the products have been out there. So I'm more focused on new products. So, what do they taste like? What ingredients they have. So that's where, not their hot button topic, influencer comes in for me. So I need to be realizing the discoverability, trial. There's a lot of influence in different platforms outside of the PDP that consumers want. So if you're trying on a dress or like shoes, you want to see like that person walking or like what it would look like on me. Okay, well, if I want to try the naked new product that has no artificials or flamin' hot dill pickle Cheetos, I wonder what that tastes like. Is that my type of chip or whatever? So that's where the influencer comes in. And it doesn't have to be this cultural moment that helps, oh, this is the best thing ever. It's almost like a tutorial. It's seriously like, this tastes good. It's like a cooking show. Like that heat is like spot on. That's like the new PDP page for me. You're literally almost getting excited about that. And it's another human eating the product. That's going to do a lot for my brands as opposed to just listing out on a bullet point or a PDP page, because I don't need the size, the whatever the garments, like what it's made of or whatever. It's pretty simple. I just need that experience. I need to feel like I want to go buy that chip. So for me, it's about thinking of those other touch points outside of the PDP, that whatever touch point you hit, you're fully informed of what those products are. And so if there's a new product out on the shelf right now that you see in the gondola when you go to Walmart, and you're like, I wonder what that tastes like. That's my fault. I should have educated, everyone on that. We've done that across the board. Like more recently, we've been more purposeful across our placements, and I think it's really helping. And then that way, we don't have to rely on that last click. Because if you see a Lay's ad or a Pepsi ad, you're not going to go necessarily click on that and like, oh, let's learn more. Like CTAs, yeah, it's great. So I need to be influencing that in a bunch of different dimensions before we ever get to that place. Otherwise, that's a lost cause. So just want to kind of add that that's, for me, that's my secondary PDP pages is across the board, and especially influencer.
Yeah, I feel like I can sign my name under everything that these guys already said. The one thing I'll add is that PDP again is an important tactic today for us. If you own your own ecosystem, the conversations I'm trying to have is what is going to be the role not only of a PDP but of our website 3 years from now. Like Marie said, a lot of that not only discovery but also the full journey is starting to happen inside GPTs.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, why will people go to your website 3 years, 2 years, maybe 1 year from now? And that requires a complete re-engineering of that experience. Even if someone still clicks through to your website after they found you on ChatGPT or wherever else, GPT probably already served them majority of the information that they would find on your PDP. So if they do click through, how will you make sure that's still a value add to the experience? I'm very interested in personalized PDPs. So how is that sphere going to evolve? Because again, depending on from which touch points you land on the journey, right now it's a relatively static experience. Wherever you go from, you're getting served the same content. But in the future, hopefully not so distant future, I think there's a lot of space for solutions that help us tweak and personalize that journey and the information is given to the customer based on where they came from. So I think that's more thinking, 1-2 years from now, but it's not 5. And I think in the businesses that we work for, 1-2 years is as close as tomorrow. So we need to. That's a conversation I'm really keen on starting today.
That's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. Personalization is very, very important today. Absolutely. So I want to hear, Katka, I want to start with you. I want to hear a hot take. Let's talk about what's over. What marketing trend is everyone chasing right now that you think will fade faster than we all think?
This might be a hot take. I'm going to say creator economy or the entire influencer business. What is happening now, and I feel like we're probably not alone there. We're changing the type, like who we engage with, what type of creators. We're really moving away from the macro influencers more towards the micro, even nano space, and that's what's happening again now. What I think will be there in the future is, for many reasons, right? I mean, we see that customers are not, authenticity is a big word. We're really looking for, we can see right through when someone's pushing something just because they're being paid. So the importance of trust and of a genuine recommendation is only going to become more important. So whether they're macro or nano, that they're getting paid to promote your product, right? So I feel like that creator economy is going to flourish for a little bit. But I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of years from now, there's a little bit of the pendulum swings another way, because there's not going to be enough trust from the customer to whatever the creator is pushing, whether they're having 1 million followers or 1,000 followers. So I feel like that whole creator influencer space is something that's changing already, and I think it will change only further down the line.
Yeah, that's really well said. I completely agree. And just to a little bit build on that, we get stuck about thinking that because we've learned how to optimize based on our big partners at PepsiCo. So like Meta, YouTube, TikTok, Amazon, we've kind of perfected it. And I feel like everyone expects like that kind of ways of working just to continue the next 3 to 5 years. I think humans and technology will adapt quickly to new mediums and new forms. Like if you think about the evolution of Facebook, where it used to be like a business page or like you just talk to your friends, and now it's like when I open it up, like I almost expect to shop. I think that's going to break. And so there either needs to be a team in your organization that's thinking about the next frontier, or be working with these partners to build what's next. I like a lot what Amazon's doing in voice. I think that's huge. You know, if I can just talk to something and get it, especially for me, again, the high household penetration brand, dimensionalizing video. We've already seen what Ray-Ban's doing with Meta and the visual wear. I think I want to encourage all the marketers not to get stuck in what we're seeing and just optimizing frequency and engagement on these platforms. I think that we're in the really quickly going to get a lot of disruption. And so we need teams focused on those consumers that understand those insights and where that behavior might change. And then a tech stack team that's actually looking at what are those building blocks, what are those partners that are going to come in and help me break through. Because that's almost the new culture. I know like Ray-Ban got a lot of credit for that MetaWear glasses, and it wasn't necessarily a celebrity or a Super Bowl event. It was like Ray-Ban is just innovative. Like they're just cool. And I want to be a cool brand. You know, if I'm Cheetos, like I want to be cool. Can I hang out with the cool kids? And so I've taken a lot of my brand marketers out to like CES, and I'm like, what am I doing at CES? Like I sell chips. Like there's a smart toilet. I'm like, great. I don't know what that does for me, or smart farming equipment. But it's thinking differently about that. And I think for us, we'll be here in the next couple of years thinking completely different about this. And yes, AI will inform these, but I just think the entire engagement between brand and consumer will shift dramatically in the next couple of years. So stay on top of your game.
I get the benefit of following two really good answers. I have two hot takes, one of which is for sure a build. The others may be new. First hot take is I think the mega influencer has already changed. And I think it goes back to the fact that we have oversaturated as brands our dependency on influencers, and thus the feeds are oversaturated with influencer content. And the net result of that is we don't trust things anymore. And so, and mega influencers are a big part of that. Now, the good ones realized this 3 years ago and started building brands themselves, started building their own products, started creative directing for brands that they were passionate about. The ship has sailed on that. We don't work with a lot of mega influencers. We work with people of influence. If anybody saw our holiday campaign or even anniversary last year, we're actually looking at talent a little differently. We're hiring people you might know, like we worked with Chloe Fineman. That sort of takes the place. We worked with Kyle MacLachlan, which was my personal favorite for holiday, and a cast of other folks. That sort of took the place of the mega influencer for us. These are people of influence who are, actual talent. Let's be real. Who can get up on stage and shoot a commercial for us, and that content resonated really well. It reached all the right people, drove the impact that we hoped it would drive. So mega influencer, I think, has shifted. I know and love a lot of mega influencers, count many of them as personal friends, and I'm happy to see them continue forward in their career in new and refreshed ways. So I think that's like hot take one. Hot take two is I think activations are oversaturated. And this started, I'm sorry, present company, but this started, I don't know, I remember I was at Coachella as a fan probably 15 years ago. And it was when the sort of stage presented by this brand started happening. And I remember going, I'm just here to see Elliott Smith. Why is there a Doritos stage? And then,
Guilty.
Sorry. Sorry. And God, I love a Dorito. I love a Cheeto. But I think that sort of that was like ushered us into an era where oh my gosh, we're here, we're in Austin, South by is happening. If anyone's been to a music festival anytime soon, it's brands are inescapable and it's ridiculous. I don't want to go do a yoga class sponsored by somebody. I just want to do some yoga. So I think we need to get more out of our activations. I think brands need to be a lot more intentional and thoughtful about not just splashing a logo on an activation and then checking the box. I also think we need to hold those activations. By the way, I love an in-person activation. I think we need to hold them to a higher standard. So make it more interesting, make it more fun, make it more exclusive. Kind of gets back to my earlier point on loyalty. I think brands that are investing in activations need to first and foremost think about how that serves their best customer. So create some exclusivity through those events, make them more impactful, make the swag bags eco-conscious, make them actually be valuable. So holding us as marketers to a bit of a higher standard there.
Proud to say we've evolved in the last 15 years. So
no more Doritos
I
stage.
completely agree that's literally our one-on-one, please. And we work with partners and media partners. We do not want a logo slap. That's the last thing we want anywhere. So that's an absolutely great point.
Accountability.
Hey, you got to own up, right? You learn from your mistakes.
Absolutely. I'm being mindful of time. I think we are finished. Is that correct? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Katka. Thank you, Marie. That was fantastic.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you,
everyone.
Appreciate it, guys.
Have a great weekend.